This is a really big deal, guys. Today, Germany became the first country in the world to create laws that would prevent big tech companies from creating a monopoly inside of Germany. So two things that are very interesting about this story that we will take a look at in today's video. First thing is that Germany is doing this right after Trump was banned on almost all platforms, realizing that if they can do it to Trump, they can pretty much do it to anyone. A sitting president, by the way, no big deal, just totally normal. And number two, the new laws are now being adopted by the EU, meaning that most countries in Europe will soon be fighting the big tech monopoly as well. Very exciting news, so let's dive right into it. Welcome to the channel, my name is Soran. So the law in Germany was just passed today, and that's right after Angela Merkel said that it was problematic that all of these big tech companies decided at the same time to ban Donald Trump off of their platforms. Through a spokesperson, she also said that freedom of opinion is a fundamental right of elementary significance. This fundamental right can be intervened in, but according to the law and within the framework defined by legislators, not according to a decision by the management of social media platforms. Seen from this angle, the Chancellor Angela Merkel considers it problematic that the accounts of the US president have now been permanently blocked. So all of this happened over the last couple of days. Obviously, the banning of Donald Trump off of all of these social media platforms, YouTube and so on. And Germany has been watching across the sea, looking at how efficiently big tech companies can get together and basically ban someone. And that led Germany to rush through this law that would prevent big tech from creating a monopoly, but also, and at the very least, as importantly, it prevents big tech companies from interfering with smaller companies in a negative way. Politico is reporting that Germany shows EU the way in curbing big tech. Berlin hopes to set a precedent with more proactive rules for the largest digital platforms. The German parliament on Thursday approved a reform of national competition law that would make Germany the first country in the world with preventative rules tailored to counter the market power of large digital platforms. I'm telling you guys, this is key for the future of Europe. Especially when you consider that we just saw all of these huge tech companies get together and reduce a company like Parler to nothing, basically. They pulled all of their services at the same time, and not even the lawyers of Parler will work with them anymore. So now they have massive issues, and Parler was becoming it's an alternative to Twitter, and it was growing bigger and becoming pretty big. But now, working together, these big companies, tech companies, got together and basically reduced Parler to rubble, at least for the time being. Now, there's a parallel thing running here, both with Trump and with Parler. It's that the tech companies, if they want to, or if you have an opinion that they don't like, or they consider you competition, they can get rid of you very efficiently, very quickly. And that's exactly why Germany is creating this law preventative to that happening in Germany as well. Look at this, guys. In moving forward quickly with the new constraints on big tech, Germany is increasing its leverage in the EU's development of a similar bloc-wide reforms that could end up replacing the German framework. But Berlin's approach also opens the door to legal challenges by the internet platforms. So it used to be that these competition laws could only be changed if there was some kind of tech company violating the dominant position they would have in the market. And now Germany is doing this preventively. And that kind of opens the whole thing up to be challenged by these big tech companies. And they've already begun doing so because they look at Germany. They understand that Germany, at least in terms of the EU, is setting a lot of the policies. So if Germany, who just passed this law, applies the law and makes sure that big tech can't create effectively huge monopolies inside of Germany, they understand that the same thing will probably happen in all of the EU soon after. The article also says that German competition chief Andreas Mundt has highlighted how the coronavirus crisis amplifies the winner takes all dynamic on digital markets, with so-called gatekeeper platforms exerting outsized influence. We really need to re-establish conditions for competitive options for companies outside the ecosystem of these huge digital companies, he said in November concerning the planned reforms. So, in other words, he's trying to make sure that these big tech companies just can't get together and crush smaller ones, right? And I'm really happy that someone's making a decision on this. To be fair, and we'll talk about this in just a moment, I don't know if the government intervening is the right thing to do. I'm happy about this decision, but we'll talk about that in just a moment. I just want to say that the bill was approved, meaning the law was passed, so it's considered law now in Germany. And Germany, since March of last year, was able to do a list of these big tech companies that these laws would apply to. So basically, it won't apply to all tech companies. It'll only apply to the biggest ones once the name of the tech company is put on the list. I know that's a technicality, but it's just to say that it won't be applicable to all companies. It's mostly, Google, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all of these huge tech companies. And it gives smaller companies a chance to survive without being crushed as soon as they become a real competitor to one of the bigger companies. So I have a question that I want to ask you guys. I think a free and open market is the best way to go, right? But I think a lot of you guys will agree with me. But what happens when you have a monopoly between all of these tech giants? They get together and they crush a company like Parler, or they make sure that a person like Donald Trump can't speak anymore, can't communicate through the conventional means, through social media, which is a lot of how we communicate with people nowadays, right? What happens when a monopoly can get together and decide to shut a company or a person down because they don't like their viewpoints? I understand that Donald Trump is a bad example because you might agree or disagree with what he did, but he's still the president of the United States, at least for a few more days, and he can just turn on a broadcast and have all of the news channels show his speech. But you and I, we don't have that option. So what if they take away, because you have a certain viewpoint, they take away your rights or your ability to communicate to other people online? What if they do that to you? What if they come at your company because your company all of a sudden grew a little too big in what they would like to see, right, as a competitor? But what's the answer here? I mean, if a few companies get together and create essentially a monopoly of online speech, then how do you break up that kind of power in a good way? Because I like the government stepping in and making sure that smaller companies can rise up if they have a good product. But I don't like the idea of putting restraints on companies just because they're doing well or just because they are successful in how they do things. Obviously, these companies will say that the users of the platforms, they sign these rules and policies that you're supposed to follow, and if you don't like them, you can just go somewhere else. But the problem is that there isn't somewhere else to go. We're almost at that point now where you can't go anywhere else. These 3 or 4 tech companies almost have created a monopoly of online speech. So it's a really tricky question. It doesn't have a simple answer. If you have any thoughts on the issue, comment in the comment section below. And tomorrow I'll be doing a live stream like I do every Friday for the channel. And I'll bring up your comments in the live stream. So it would be really cool to hear what you guys have to say. Then we'll take it up, me and my friend, in the live stream. You're also welcome to chat with us around the same time as these videos come out. On Fridays, we do a live stream now every single Friday. Otherwise, thank you so much for taking time to look at this very important issue with me. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you guys in the next video.